Hi, my name is Dell and I'm a manager at Love and Pups. Today I want to introduce you to a vital tool when working with dogs, and that's our radios. Our radios look like this, and each employee should have a radio on them during their work hours. The radios will be plugged in the staff area. Please make sure that you get a radio that was plugged in, not one that wasn't plugged in overnight. Otherwise, you might not have a charge, and that means you might miss a message. So you want to make sure that you get a fully charged radio that has the green light on it. When you grab a radio, you should know the different parts. So the on-off switch is up here at the top.
Power on. 15.
And when you turn the power on, you can turn up the volume as well, and it will tell you what channel you're on. So turning it on.
Power on. 15.
And it tells you what channel we're on. Right now we're using channel 15. That could change in the future. So when you come on staff, make sure that you know what channel we're using. The other buttons on the radio. On this side, you have the bigger button. That is to press when talking. And then two other buttons up and down to change the channels to a higher channel or to a lower channel. On the other side, you have a plug for headphones. We do have headphones if that works for you. If you can't hear the radio and you think headphones would be helpful for you to have, you can plug them in here, and the power cord. So we have two different kinds of radios. Well, one kind of radio with two different kinds of plug adapters. So make sure that you're plugging into the right kind of plug adapter. The other part is the flap on the back, the clip. You should clip your radio somewhere where you're going to hear it and make sure that the volume is up so that you can hear it when someone's calling. I either clip mine on my shirt up here or on my belt loop, whichever works best for you. However, make sure that if you do put it on your hip, on your belt, or on your pocket, that a dog cannot get it. Several of our dogs are Houdinis, and they can grab your radio, put it in your mouth, and be gone in seconds. So make sure that you have it somewhere secure. So we've talked about turning it on. If you're going to talk, you're going to hit this button here on this side. You're going to hold it, press for a second, and wait, and then speak. This makes sure that your message isn't cut off. If you click the button and say, hey guys, I'm just checking to see what's going on, they're going to miss the beginning part of that. And almost everyone else on staff are going to call you and ask you to repeat it. So please make sure you press and hold for a second and then speak. We use radios to communicate between us because we could be in different yards, in different rooms. We could even be outside in the front. So it's important that we all have a way to communicate. And we're working with dogs, so it's important for staff safety and for dog safety that we're able to communicate at a moment's notice. Just as I've said that it's important that you get a radio that is charged, when you leave for the day, make sure that you are putting your radio back into a charging station, make sure it's plugged in, and make sure that the volume is off, that the radio is absolutely off. If it's on, when you plug it in, it won't fully charge. So make sure you turn it off, you'll hear it click, and then plug it in. Make sure that you're checking to make sure it's in the right plug, and make sure that that plug is connected and in an outlet. So that it does charge. When you pick up a radio in the morning, it should have a green light on it, and that will tell you that it's charged. So in use of radios, the most important thing we do when we're using the radios, other than calling for help if there was an emergency, is to let the staff know when a new dog is coming in. So when a new dog is coming in, a customer comes in, they bring their dog up to the desk, they sign their dog in, which they must do. They must sign their dog in and they must sign their dog out. After they do that, the person at the desk will be saying the name of the dog, what play group they're going in, and whether they are boarding or daycare. So this is important information because we want the staff in those yards to know which dogs they're taking care of. It's very important for them to know how many dogs are in their care and who those dogs are. And it's very important to let them know that a new dog is coming in. Dogs are curious by nature, so as soon as they hear the radio and they know that we're coming back, they crowd the doors. So it's very important for the staff member that is in the yard that the dog's coming into knows that, so that they can start preparing those dogs for a new dog to enter. And that means getting the dogs back away from the doors, making sure maybe that they're outside, getting them all outside when a dog is entering. We don't want that pile up at the door when a new dog comes in. It scares the new dog, and the dogs that are in the yard already can be aggressive at a new dog coming into the pack. So we want to make sure that the staff member in that yard or the staff members in those yards are prepared for a dog to come in. We need to do that not slowly, but we need to do it deliberately and with care. So when a dog is coming in to a yard, the person with that dog presently in the front and who has gone through the checkout and check-in and knows exactly which dog and what yard they're going into, this is how they will notify you. They'll hold down the button and then they'll speak. I have Oakley coming in to the large dog play group for daycare. Oakley. I make it a habit to say the dog's name twice. You don't have to do that, but if part of your message were cut off, you'd want to make sure that they know the name of the dog coming in. So again, the dog coming in is Oakley. I'm going to press and hold the button so that I can speak. Hey guys, I have Oakley coming in, large dog play group for daycare. Oakley. And then that way I know that I've communicated which dog is coming in, which play group they're going to be in, and whether they are daycare or boarding. All of that information will also be written down by the staff members. So they're going to use that information to put it up on the board so that at a moment's notice, we can look at the board on the big dog yard or on the small dog yard and know exactly how many dogs we have and who are here for boarding and who are here for daycare. Same thing when a dog is going out. When a parent comes in and they're picking up their dog, they're going to tell the person at the front. So what that person at the front is going to do is they're going to hold it. Then they're going to say, I have Oakley going home, Oakley. And that will inform the staff on whichever yard that that dog is coming home, and they should prepare him by getting him to the gate and out where the person up front can get that dog, put a leash on them, and take them out. So again, if a dog is going out, hey guys, I have Oakley. Oakley is going home. And that tells the staff which dog is going home. That is why it's important for us to say what dog is coming in, because if we didn't tell them what dog was coming in and we push a dog into the play group without letting them know, then they don't, A, know how many dogs that they're taking care of, B, might not know a dog's name or be familiar with them, and C, when I call to get a dog at the end of the day, if they don't know that they had this dog, it makes us look a little silly that we didn't know that which dogs were in our care and what play group they were in and who was responsible. So that's very important information. Other times that it's important to use your radio. If you need a break, it's a very fast-paced business. It's very loud often with dogs barking, and you can need a break. So if you need to take a bathroom break, a break to get a drink, just a break maybe to just take a breath, then please get on your radio and just ask for someone to come in and stand in your yard for you. You should never leave a yard unattended, ever. If you intend to leave a yard, please make sure that somebody knows that you are leaving so that they can have eyes on your dog, or that somebody can come in and relieve you that can watch your dogs while you're gone. That's very, very important that we do not leave dogs unattended if at all possible. And there are enough staff members to make sure that somebody can come in and stand for you if you need to get out, especially if it's an emergency. Another time you might use a radio is if there is a dog issue. Now, first of all, if there's a dog issue and you are near a supervisor or a manager or steward, make sure that you just talk to them. If they're within distance to hear you speak, then there's no reason to use the radio. And they are your first line of contact. If there's not a supervisor, go to a manager. If there's not a manager, go to steward. But if they're in the yard with you, there's no reason for you to use a radio. However, if you are in a yard and there is an emergency, it is important for you to use your radio as soon as possible. The first thing we want is for you to make sure that you're safe and the dogs are safe before you hit the radio. Just make sure you're in a safe situation. We don't want you to be on the radio and be compromising your safety because you're talking on the radio. That being said, we do need, in a critical situation, we do need you on the radio as soon as possible. So as soon as you're safe and the dog is safe, please get on the radio. Hold it for a moment. I know it might be hard in the heat of the moment, but we need your wits about you and we need you thinking all the time to make sure that your communication goes through, is to hold that. And then what you say next is very critical, because just as we have radios, the person in the front has a radio. And if it's turned up loudly so that they can hear, that means our customers, if they're in the lobby, can also hear. So under great stress, it might be more difficult, but under normal circumstances, we want to use language that does not go into detail of what is happening. The last thing I want to hear on a radio is, hey, this dog is humping another dog and bit another dog, and then it ran after another dog, and this dog's just a problem, and we need to get this dog out of there. If I'm a customer, I don't want to hear any of those things. It is not professional for us to have those kinds of conversations on the radio. It is appropriate for you to say, hey, I need a supervisor or a manager as soon as possible out in the large yard. It's also important for you to be very clear about where you are so that we can get to you quickly. If you're in the inside large, inside small, outside small, I'm in the boarding room, I'm in the bathing room, whatever area you're in, it's important that you communicate that. And all you need to say is, hey, I need a supervisor or a manager as soon as possible in the large dog play area outside, or I have a dog in the bathing area. Could someone please come back to the bathroom and help me? Like that. We don't want a lot of detail. If we have an illness, unfortunately, illnesses happen in dog boarding. It's important not to give too many details on the radio. We don't want to hear, hey, this dog is hacking and coughing all over the other dogs, and I don't know what we should do. Instead, it would be appropriate to say, can I get a supervisor or a manager back in the large dog play group to evaluate? Thank you. And that will tell them that you have an issue that you need help with, and we're going to come back and help you with that. So it's very important for you to be clear, concise, and to the point without adding too much detail. One other thing with being on the radio, if it's not critical, it doesn't have to be addressed right this minute, then maybe it's something that you can wait for a supervisor to come back into the yard to share. Or it might be something that you could remember to talk about at the end of your shift. We certainly don't want you to forget what you wanted to say or what you wanted to contribute. You can even write a note on the board to remind you. But if you're just sharing an idea or a thought, it's best to keep that for a later time, unless it's critical to what we're doing right at the moment. Too much chatter on the radio, and whoever's cleaning or whoever's at the front desk, they're taking time out to be able to hear that message. So they're turning off the shop vac, or they're bringing a dog back in and they didn't hear it, and they have to stop and ask you again what you said, and then you're going to repeat it. And if it's not mission critical at that moment, we've just stopped the flow of work. And if you're an employee that's back doing the cleaning or doing the feeding, it's important that you're focused on what you're doing. So a lot of radio interruptions, especially if there is a supervisor or a manager or steward nearby, it's best to address it with the person that's closest to you and not a person who might be in the middle of something else. That said, if it is critical, please get on the radio and tell us. There are times when we might have to remove a dog for either its behavior, maybe it's not looking good, maybe it's gotten a limp because it was playing too hard, maybe we've noticed a behavior that is questionable, or maybe it could happen that there's blood on the floor. It sounds a little crazy to say that there's blood on the floor and it might not be important, but because we're doing nails, a dog could have just had its nails clipped and is walking and blood gets on the floor. Of course, it's important to note. Of course, it's important to see if you can find the dog that's having that issue. But one drop of blood or one smear of blood does not an emergency make. So we want you to be forward thinking. We want you to try to investigate, figure out which dog it is. You're with the dogs, we're not with the dogs. So if you're with the dogs and you notice blood or you notice a limp or you notice a behavior, then we want you to look into that more so that when you do use the radio to tell us about it and to share that you need us to talk to us about it, that you have the most information. And sometimes that blood could be a bloody tooth from playing and biting. Sometimes it could be a bloody nail because we've just done their nails and now they're out playing rough and they're in the water. Blood could be from a cut and it could be something more serious. But we want you to be taking the initiative to look and try to figure those out before you call a supervisor or a manager, because you being in the yard and you seeing it, you're the best person to investigate that and find out where it came from, try to figure out which dog, and then ask for assistance. If you can't find it after you've taken steps to try to resolve it or try to get answers, then a supervisor or a manager or steward can come back and help you. But we want you to take those steps to try to figure it out first, because we aren't back there, we didn't see what happened, and it's just as likely that you'll find it as likely as us. We're gonna just take the dog out, we're gonna look them all over to make sure that there's nothing we need to be concerned about, but we expect you as staff members to be doing that as well. If you need to put a dog in a timeout kennel because you think it might have been hurt, or you think it might be bleeding, or you think it might be limping, you have the ability to use that timeout kennel that's in the yard, in the large yard, right outside of the large indoor yard. But it is not appropriate for a staff member to make a decision on their own to take a dog back into the kennel or to put a dog in timeout or the side yard. That is a supervisor or a manager decision. So please contact a supervisor or a manager if you think a dog needs a break because they're tired, needs a break because they're overdoing it, needs a break because their behavior is getting a little aggressive or a little bit too much. Those are all decisions for the supervisors and managers and steward to make. So please make us aware of what you're seeing. We want to know that. We want you to use the radio. And again, click to speak and then tell us, hey guys, I could use a supervisor or a manager here. I have a question or a concern. That's okay. But remember, keep it short and simple. We don't need the details over the radio. If the matter is urgent, hey guys, I need a manager or a supervisor immediately out in the back. That's fine. It tells us that you need somebody, you need them quickly, and it's a serious situation, and we will be out there. But if it's a random situation, if it's a dog's too hot or a dog is limping, yes, it's important. Investigate that and then let us know that you need our assistance. And we want you to be noticing these things with the dogs. We want you to be watching them and playing with them so that you can tell if their behavior is different. And because you are out there, you are our best eyes and ears on what a situation might be. Now, there are times when we get a little silly on the radio, and those times are okay, but they should be the exception and not the rule. We don't want to be too silly when a customer can hear us. But sometimes it is nice to just let off a little steam and make a joke. You want to make sure it's appropriate, that it will be well received, and that it's short and simple. Sometimes we'll get on the radio and maybe somebody didn't hear a name, and then it's funny and someone says something back, and that's perfectly fine. But we don't want to have long conversations on the radio. We don't want a joke to go too far. We certainly don't want jokes about the dogs or their behavior, because we never know who's in front and whose dog. And remember, these dogs are loved and cared for, and lots of money is spent on their care and welfare, and they're a member of somebody's family. So we want to make sure that we treat the dogs and their parents with the utmost respect. So that's radios. If you have any questions after watching the video, please talk to your supervisor, manager, or steward. Thank you.